All right, we are ready to start coding for our dragsters on the Vex V5 software. So what you're going to want to do is when you get to your desktop, you're going to want to open the Vex V5 on your desktop, which is a little code that where my mouse is at the bottom of the screen. Okay, it's somewhere on your desktop. You just double click it and it opens up, and this is what it'll open to. All right, so if you watched the previous video, you would know by now that you can plug in your Cortex and battery and all that stuff, and you should see it at the top of the screen here with the brain being green and the download and everything. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is up here you click File, New Blocks Project. Okay, it'll probably already open up to a new project, but just in case you want to do that so that we can save it as your project, since there are multiple classes using this computer. So here at the top of the page where it says Vex Code Project, you're going to click that. It should open this up, and then you want to title it something that says like your class period 7.3 space, and then I'll put my last name because it's my project. Okay, you can put your name or your group's name, it doesn't matter to me. I would just put your class period and your name, and then I would save it to the store and go, which is the little blue thing that's attached to every single tower so that you don't lose your project. So I would do that and then click save. Okay, now everything you do on here, everything you change will work like just like a Google document. It'll then save as you go. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is now that you have a motor connected and possibly an optical sensor, you need to program those into your software. So up here at the right hand corner, you're going to click this button, and then it'll open up your devices. You're going to want to add a device and add a motor. Now you have a port, and depending on which port you put it in, numbers 1 through 21, you will select that port. So I put mine, if you watched the previous video, I put mine into port number 1. So I'm going to click port 1. It shows me if you want to change the name of things, don't really need to do that. It's clicked on normal, and then you click done. Okay. You want to then add another device for if you have an optical sensor. If you don't have an optical sensor, then you don't need to do this. But if you do, you're going to want to add device, add optical, and then whatever port you put it in, that's what you would select. I put mine in port number 10, so I'm going to click that, and boom. Now I have all of my devices programmed into my computer, and you can click that little arrow to move it off to the side. So now you're ready to start coding. So with your pseudocode. So your project should start, say, when started at the top. If it doesn't, you can go all the way down here. It says when started, you can put it right in there. Okay. Now you're going to want to then have it go forward. So when it starts, you have a couple things you can choose from. You can go pretty standard and then just collect spin motor 1 forward and put that in there. If you want to get rid of it or change it, drag it out of there. The other thing you can do is you can spin your motor forward at a certain number of volts. So if you want it to go faster, you can click and change the number of volts you want to go at. I do not want you to go crazy and think I'm going to put it at 1,000,000 volts. Like, that's just not going to happen, and you're going to end up breaking something, and it's probably just not going to work. So if you want to change it, I wouldn't go any higher than like 25 or 30, just because you just don't need that much. So you can just enter like 25 in there, press enter, click out of it, and move on. Okay, so that's really all I would do. Okay, so let's say for this purposes, we're going to do spin motor 1 forward. Okay, if for whatever reason you need it to go reverse, you can click that and make it go reverse. Okay, the next thing is you need to figure out how far you want it to go or how long you want it to go. So a couple things you can do. You can do wait and then a certain number of seconds. So if you want it to spin forward for 10 seconds only, sure, then you just put that in there. Or you can change it to whatever number you want. You know, don't be silly and put like 1,000 seconds. It's just not going to work like that. Okay. The other way you can do this is you can do a wait until, and this is when your optical sensor will come into play. So you can go down to your sensing right here. You can find the optical sensors, and then the best thing you can probably do is optical 10, that's just the port in the optical, found an object and put it in there. Okay, that's one of them you can do. The other one is if you want to put something in front of it so that the optical can detect a certain color, you can do that. I don't know what I have that can make you detect that, but that's one thing you can also do. So for this purpose, I'm going to put wait until optical 10 finds an object. So then you got to think to yourself, okay, it's going forward. What is it going to do when it finds that object? Okay, well, you have a couple options. One is you can spin that motor 1 backwards, okay, but then what do you do after that? So what I would do is do a wait and make it go in reverse for 5 seconds. Okay, once it does that, you have to stop the motor. All right, now it's stopped, and at the end of the project for everyone, you're going to add stop project. Okay, so for mine, when started, it's going to spin the motor 1 forward. It waits until optical 10 finds an object. Then it will spin in reverse and wait for 5 seconds before then it stops and the project is done. Okay, when you are done, it's already saved. You need to then download this to your Cortex, which then you'll just click download. It will start the download process. It is then downloaded. You can check your Cortex. It probably has popped up. You can also run it right here on your computer. So if you would like to see if it works, you can click run and it should actually start your motor. All right, and then you can click stop if you find something you want to stop, or you can let it run through and it'll end. But otherwise, the only thing you have to do is make it go forward for a certain amount of feet or inches or whatever. If you have an optical sensor, you need to make sure you program that in there, and then it's good to go. All right, so make sure for your document, you get a picture of this, of your code, and you put it in your document so that I can grade that. All right, that's the end.